In 2140, women have become the dominant gender and taken control of society, allowing them to push humanity into fast progress with discipline, peace, and great technological advances. Instead of living in cities, they've created a colony in the countryside, and an AI housekeeper takes care of all the chores like cooking, checking on the owner's health, and making new clothing for them. There isn't any kind of violence, and fines are given for minor offenses like using the wrong can for the trash. Thanks to all this, the average life expectancy is now 150. Their currency is social points, which they earn by being obedient and lose by misbehaving. There are also breaks taken just to have a hug. History teacher Radha tells the class about how the world was when men dominated society. They only brought hate and violence that resulted in wars and climate change. Then in 2030, during a conflict between the United States and North Korea, some scientists developed a virus to destroy all the men in the US military. However, the virus quickly spread to the rest of the world and ended up killing 99% of the male population. That's when women took over and reversed all the damage done by men, making Earth a better place to live in. Nowadays, male babies are extremely rare, and when one is born, he's sent to the slums. The male population is seen as apes for having little intelligence, being dirty, and only being interested in intercourse and violence. They also only live around 30 years. Mila is curious about the slums, and Radha takes the girls on a class trip. The slums happen to be old cities, which have very primitive technology and access to only the basic necessities. In these slums lives Jera, a guy who is desperate to do the naughty with a woman. There's also Baron, the leader of the slums. He wants to start an uprising against the women and often gives speeches to get the other guys to support him. Today's speech gets interrupted by the arrival of Radha and her class, and the men get angry when they realize they're being treated like a zoo. One of them pulls down his pants as a prank, but a girl misunderstands it as a greeting and responds by lifting her skirt. The men are starting to get excited, so Radha sends the girls back to the bus, only to notice Mila is missing. Radha rushes to find Mila and finds her staring at a duck because she never saw an animal before, since they're forbidden in the colony. Jera suddenly startles them by killing the animal, and when their screams get the attention of a guy, Jera immediately hides them. Once the man is gone, Jera kisses Radha, who panics and blows her emergency whistle. The noise makes Jera's head hurt, but it also gives away their location, and soon the men find them. They're taken to see Baron, who decides to organize a slapping competition, and the winner gets to do it with the women. Wanting to protect them, Jera enters the competition and gets nervous when his opponent turns out to be a giant. Jera's slap is weak and does nothing to the man, who immediately reacts with his own slap. Luckily he's slow, and Jera quickly dodges him, causing Baron to get knocked out instead. While everyone is distracted, Radha and Mila run back to their bus, which has a force field that keeps the guys away from reaching them. While the girls escape on the bus, Jera runs away too because Baron's men want to punish him. Sometime later, a bus stops by the slums to get some batteries, and after it takes off, Jera reveals to be hiding in the battery barrels. He meets the bus owner Yuli, who works as a seed keeper, meaning he's one of the few privileged men allowed to impregnate women. The bus is on autopilot and can't stop, so Yuli agrees to let Jera out when they make it to the colony. While they chat, Yuli drinks a lot of Jera's moonshine and gets so drunk that he ends up jumping out of the bus into the forest. Still determined to escape from Baron's men, Jera puts on Yuli's spare uniform and pretends to be a new seed keeper. Moments later, Jera makes it to the colony 2 Hills, where an invisible barrier opens up to let him in. A woman gives him a tour of the place, and Jera is surprised to see how many girls are excited to have him around. That night on live TV, Jera bites the holy apple and takes an oath to reproduce healthy and smart babies. He wants to start working immediately, so he's taken to the reproduction chamber and meets a woman he isn't attracted to at all. His disappointment increases when suddenly a pipe is connected to his groin and starts milking him. To keep himself distracted, he thinks about Radha, while Radha also thinks of him too while using a toy. The next day, Jera is taken to the reproduction base, where seed keepers are taken care of by beautiful women. Jera is happy to spend the whole day being pampered with good food and massages, but all this attention causes him to get stiff. He rushes to the bathroom to find relief in his hand, but this causes an alarm to go off. It turns out that both self-relief and intercourse are illegal in the colony. Meanwhile, Radha and her family are at the local court because Mila told the authorities about what happened during the class trip, and now they must check if Radha and Mila are guilty. Radha is nervous and tells her best friend Iya about the kiss, but Iya assures nobody can know about it. Mila's mother Vera tries to blame Radha for everything, so Radha retaliates by saying they went to the slums because Mila asked to, showing a recording from her AI as proof. It seems Radha may win, but Iya cuts in to tell everyone about the kiss. All the women are disgusted and Rada is punished with 80 hours of community service while Ia is given 20 social points as a reward. Back to Yuli, he makes his way to the slums and gets help from Jera's grandfather, who tells him to keep his identity a secret. Afterward, Yuli is introduced to Baron, who immediately can tell Yuli is keeping secrets and breaks his finger. Baron also asks for his pants, and when he takes them off, everyone is impressed by his manhood. Now Baron is the second biggest guy in the area. Later, after getting a haircut, Yuli is approached by one of the few women in the slums, who offers to treat his finger. Jealous, Baron tells the giant that Yuli is trying to steal his wife, so the giant challenges Yuli to a slap fight. As all the locals gather to watch, the giant opens the fight with an impressive slap that knocks Yuli down, but to everyone's surprise, he quickly stands up again. Then Yuli slaps the giant back with shocking strength, knocking him out. Now he gets to do the dirty with the giant's wife. In the colony, the seed keepers are taken out for a walk and told about all the rules they must follow, like having to ask permission to fart and enter a capsule to do it. Eventually they make it to a statue of Greta Thunberg, who is seen as a goddess here. While everyone is distracted praying, Jera gets tired of all the rules and convinces some guys to go have fun. There's access to the sea nearby, so they rush there to catch fish. At that moment the others notice that Jera's legs aren't shaved and that he has a lighter, which are both forbidden. Instead of suspecting his identity, they think it's part of Jera's rebel persona and are impressed. The group has lots of fun together in the water and starts a fire to cook their fish, but the smoke triggers a fire alarm and a fake cloud appears above to rain on them. When they return to the center, they're informed their punishment will be a tour to the Museum of Patriarchy for re-education. Afterward, Jera tries to make a cocktail, and the gesturing causes the self-pleasure alarm to go off. Then he tries with his other hand and nothing happens, confirming it's the ring they're forced to wear that reads their movements. Now the guys can get naughty in private with their own hands. The next day, Jera is getting a massage when suddenly he discovers his caretaker is Rada, who was sent here to serve as punishment. Shocked, Jera pretends he hurt his ankle and is immediately taken away. Later, Jera's rebel group is taken to the Museum of Patriarchy, where they're put through several presentations that teach him how things should be according to the new rules. Women are the superior race, men should be dominated, and intercourse is disgusting. While the guys are indoctrinated, Rada and her grandmother Zoya watch from afar, laughing at how clumsy Jera is. Zoya mentions that Jera is cute and asks Rada to protect his identity instead of reporting him. Once the guys return to the reproduction base, Jera teaches the others that all they saw is a lie and that feeling desire is normal. One of the men gets too excited with the idea and asks Rada to undress, but before things can escalate, Jera cuts in and sends the guy away. Rada is grateful, but she still tells Jera to leave the city or she'll blow his cover. In the slums, Yuli has become very popular. Thinking he's losing power, Baron orders his right-hand man Krissa and a bunch of his men to kill Yuli. The group asks Yuli to come with them to look for supplies, which is supposed to be a trap. However, Yuli impresses everyone by being great at the job and finding lots of food. Krissa tries attacking him anyway, but his hits do no damage. Suddenly they're found by an enemy gang called the Squirrels, yet Yuli scares them all away in seconds. Krissa and the other men are even more impressed, so they decide not to kill him. Meanwhile, it's revealed that Baron is having a secret affair with Vera, who learns about what happens in the slums from him. After a night of passion, she decides to look at the profiles of the latest seed keepers and realizes the real Yuli has been replaced with a primate. She immediately sends a warning alarm throughout the colony, and a terrified Jera has no choice but to run away. However, when he reaches the borders, the invisible barrier blocks him, so now he must hide. As he sneaks around, Jera finds Rada and asks her for help in exchange for all the times he saved her. At that moment, cops start arriving in the area, so Rada tries to run away with Jera only to be seen by Ia. In the slums, Baron returns to find Yuli alive and demands an explanation from his men. Krissa points out that Yuli has saved lives, so they want him around. Then Yuli says the slums also deserve a democracy. Baron refuses to hand over power, so Yuli gathers the locals around his window to start a riot, demanding to do things right. Nervous, Baron asks Vera for advice and she tells him to make the crowd play by his rules. In the end, Baron agrees to have an